Lyra Valkyria is our inaugural Intercontinental Champion.
I did not expect that, bro.
Really?
I did not expect that.
Really?
Let's just start it right there, but...
I definitely... When we came down to the final two, I was feeling a bit more confident that Valkyria was going to get it over Dakota.
I was so sure Dakota Kai was going to win that,
Really?
bro. Yeah.
Really? Especially because Lyra had beat Io. And to me, that was a pretty big, like,
That's
okay,
fair,
like,
yeah.
she's got a pretty big win here. She's rolling with some momentum. It was still close. Like, I wasn't 100% sold on it by any means, but I was slightly leaning towards seeing a Lyra win. So I'm surprised to hear that you were so surprised.
I just feel like with how Triple H has been carrying the way, like, championships are won, it's like more like, oh, like story based and shit like that. And you can see like Chelsea Green, she earned her spot and shit like that as a U.S. women's because of all the stories. She agrees with the crowd and shit like that. And it's been the same with Dakota, but the fucking opposite way because she's kind of been a heel the whole fucking time. And of course, she's gotten people to hate her when she turned on Bailey.
Yeah.
Kept on going with damage control and all that bullshit. Even though, yes, it's kind of confusing right now because, like, I guess damage control is face. I don't know what you want to call it right now with them. But I feel like she did deserve it because she did put in good work this past year, and I feel like Triple H has been rewarding a lot of that recently, especially with all these titles and shit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
feel like, oh, Lyra was just barely getting brought up from fucking, and she had an amazing NXT run before she got fucking brought up right now. She was just barely the NXT champ, before she just got brought up and shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I thought I was like, oh, it's a little bit too soon for her to be the championship. Maybe like the next run right now, yeah, she'll probably win that shit. But I thought it's like definitely Dakota Kai is gonna get this one.
I mean, to be fair, it's a decent argument that you're making. Like, I do feel like
she's been at the company for a while too.
For this big card title, like Dakota definitely represents another one of those examples like Chelsea of like kind of the peak of the mid card in the women's division.
Because that's the thing that Chelsea Green always says when she's fucking giving her promos. I don't know if you caught on to that, but it's like already been a few times. She's like, oh, who's another champion that's gonna fucking get signed, get dropped, get signed again, get kicked out, but then fucking come back and then win fucking the championship or whatever the fucking order is that she fucking had and shit like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's definitely, like you said, it's an impressive journey that she went on. In some ways, it's similar for Dakota, at least as far as being stuck in the kind of middle of the pack and having to grind it out, but she's definitely made her moments count and stuff like that. I can see where you're coming from. I do feel like you said, like, Lyra's run on NXT was very impressive. She came up with a lot of hype, and I feel like kind of stagnated a bit. Like, she kind of just plateaued a little bit early, which was weird because, like, the other NXT call-ups that were very highly thought of were kind of doing really well. So I feel like this is a way for her to finally establish herself with the audience and, like, finally kind of have her moment that she's been kind of working towards. And the door isn't shut on Dakota potentially getting a shot at it down the line, but I feel like, honestly, they got it down to probably the best two options on Raw, because if we're just being real, it wasn't as strong of a field as they had on SmackDown. But I think by the time they worked it down to the final two, they had the best two options there. I think either winner would have been very deserved, but I do think that they ultimately got it right. Some of the spots in this thing were fucking gnarly. Like that, like, suplex drop that they do off of the apron.
Oof. I got a question though. So why do you think Lyra deserved it more? Like, why do you think she was more going into it? Why do you were more leaning towards her winning it?
Like I said, just the hype that she had coming up from NXT that kind of ended up
do you think that just carried
stagnating
over?
So, like, she was, like, very hyped up coming out of NXT, but then it all just kind of went nowhere for a bit. I think it was really, if we look at it, when Raw went down to 2 hours, a lot of what got cut out was kind of some of the women's division stuff, and she ended up just getting stuffed into a lot of weird, thrown together storylines real quick, like, oh yeah, Zelina Vega, I'll come help you out tonight, sure, buddy, like, just being a pal. which is like not where you want to be.
That badass power or whatever.
And so fucking yeah, like I feel like in a way she was supposed to have already done more, but because the show's lost some time, she had to get kind of forced into other stuff just to try and get TV time at all. And now that we're finally back at a show that's a bit more flexible with its running length and stuff, they wanted to like give her like, hey, we know you got kind of screwed over here. Your whole debut on the main roster didn't go quite according to plan, but now we can finally get things rolling. So it's not necessarily like what she did on the main roster to deserve it, but more so how strong her NXT run was and that hype she had coming out of NXT. I feel like this is her finally delivering on that hype, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of why I was looking at her as slightly the favorite coming into the match, because she had all of that hype, and this was a chance for her to finally deliver on it.
Okay. That's crazy, bro. No. I still feel like Dakota probably slightly kind of deserved it more, but 100% feel where you're coming from with.
No, like I said, I think that the last two were the two best options. I think either one you have a good argument for, so I think that's fair.
Good match from both of them, though, like how you were saying earlier. And
Banger.
shit like
It was a fucking banger of a match. You could tell that they both were trying to put it all on the line, and I definitely, that, like I said, that drop off of the apron is still like that's gonna be sticking with me for a while, because it was just flat onto the floor. That shit was brutal. That was fucking brutal. But yeah, great match, physical match, and congratulations to Lyra Valkyria. Crazy times, man. Finally got some mid-card women's titles. I think it's going to do a lot of good.
Another NXT champ, like how we were talking about earlier. Another NXT champion.
Yeah.
I mean, NXT brought up
Yeah.
champion. Recently, NXT graduate champion, bro.
The system
On
is
the
working.
main roster, bro.
The system is working. The youth academy is going crazy.
Produces some straight fucking talent, bro.
Straight ballers.
Producing a whole starting 11, bro. Fuck.
Straight ballers. Shit's crazy.